DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool. Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insiders.
Good evening and welcome to Music Chat. This is our new show on Tuesday nights where we talk about all the intellectual music that is out there in the industry. Our host tonight is Ben Stowe and Brian Ratt, and they are going to dazzle you with their music knowledge on Music Chat.
We're actually the guests. You're the host.
Damn.
Oh,
sorry.
I was just thinking, wait, didn't I used to have a show on Tuesday night? Did I just get replaced by myself?
Yeah, I think we just got kind of like Fear the Walking Dead and Walking Dead. We got combined into one show.
Yeah. Huh.
Saves bandwidth.
So don't fear the Reaper and don't fear the host. Yeah.
So tonight,
all right. Well, let's make this good then, shall we?
So tonight we're going to talk about hair band, and we were thinking about this the last few days because next week, Ben, you're going to be down in Minneapolis. Let's start there, and then that'll lead into why I wanted to go this direction with tonight's show.
Well, next week, of course, we have not only the lighting symposium, but also the sound symposium. We're doing them back-to-back, the audio symposium and the lighting symposium. And we're taking our attendees out for a night out, and we really scratched our heads a lot and debated a lot of different things to do. Of course, Minneapolis is full of things to do, but we just kept coming back to there's nothing more iconic in music in Minneapolis than First Avenue. Right. So many bands played First Avenue. In fact, Macklemore mentions it in his new song. That's sort of that when when you've reached something. When you've played First Ave, you're kind of on your way. And so we have First Avenue booked out again tonight. Private party. It'll only be our attendees there, and we're going to serve them dinner. And we're going to watch the original performance, a video of the original performance of Prince playing Purple Rain for the very first time. Actually, the album cut was taken from that performance at First Avenue. His band didn't even know that's what they were doing. And we've got the full unedited version on video we're going to play.
That was a benefit for the ballet company, wasn't it?
It was a benefit for somebody, and I don't remember exactly who, but yeah. And he had brought in a recording rig and stuff. And again, the band didn't know exactly what he was up to, even though I think the head recording engineer was the brother of the drummer at the time, maybe. I forget. I don't have my details straight here. Maybe not a good way to start a music show, but anyway. And then we're going to watch the movie Purple Rain in First Avenue, with, the big EV line arrays as the sound system. So, I think.
God, what day is this?
That'll be Tuesday night.
This Tuesday?
This coming Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's only like a 5-hour drive from Milwaukee, Brian.
Yeah. That's awful tempting too.
Saying.
Awful tempting.
So, we're going to do
like
that.
not tomorrow, but the next day.
Yeah.
No, like Tuesday. Today, a week from today.
Yeah.
Oh, a week from today. Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna make
not Tuesday today. Tuesday next week.
Well, obviously not Tuesday today. Otherwise, we would be late.
Well, how many Tuesdays are between now and Tuesday of next week?
I get Tuesday and Thursday mixed up because I'm not as smart as you.
Got it. No,
Sorry.
1 week from today, at this moment in time, I'll be chowing down on food on the dance floor of First Avenue, watching on the big screen. So,
it's pretty cool.
It is. And, and that's music history. And I think it's really cool. We gave people, because again, the entire club is empty. It's our club for the night. They get kind of a tour of it. We take them through the back hallways, I guess you'll call it, and the green room where, these artists, have sat before they went on stage. And it's music history.
Do you have 7th entry as well?
Sorry?
Do you have 7th Street entry as well?
We do. They might have an event this year.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. I'm going to back off on saying yes or no on that. I don't recall if that's dark that night or not. I don't know.
Pretty dope, man.
Got a lot going on this week between, I almost slipped and said the name, but speaking of old rock bands, working for one this weekend, and then jetting right after that for lighting and sound symposiums. We have a big local trade show here, our local, home sport and travel show, they call it. And of course, we just launched our new MI showroom, so we've got a presence there. We're hanging our video wall in the arena to promote the store, the shock and awe show. I think it'll be kind of fun. And then right after that, we've got another concert the following weekend. Just anyway, so I don't even know about 7th Street Entry.
And all of that is why we're doing kind of a soft show for Ben tonight.
A soft show about hard rock.
About hard rock, yes. Hair bands from our past. And we're going to talk about some of favorites or some of their picks. And I've got a few here, but they both have been putting a lot of time into their list tonight. So we're going to really have some cool...
It's not really true. I got to be honest. I kind of took a little trip down memory lane, and it was sort of spurred by Jimmy's graphics. And Jimmy, for those viewers who don't know, Jimmy is the guy who does all of our graphics for the show. And man, when I saw that graphic, my first thought was I look like Joe Dirt. I mean, I look like I took roadkill and put it on my head in that picture. Whereas you guys actually pulled it off, John and Brian. You look pretty good. But second, I thought back
to really good.
And this, the 80s, the hair bands was really, I guess, what got me into this industry in a weird sort of roundabout way. It's what really turned on my love just for music and entertainment and sort of appealed to that teenage side of me. I remember listening on my little cheap boombox to KG 95 in Sioux City, and there was a rock station at the time. I don't know what they play now. I haven't listened to them in years because I don't live there anymore. But it's sort of that was what you did. You just kind of went to your room and turned on the boombox and sort of tried to figure out life. And it's so funny. I thought about all this, and I imagined the days when I would be a big peroxide blonde, poofy haired, metal band drummer. And then I saw this picture, and I thought, man, I dodged a bullet there. Thank goodness. I went into being a sound guy instead. So
there was a girl that I dated for a while. She's still a friend of mine. Back in the early 90s, I guess. Jimmy pretty much put her hair on me. And I actually have a picture of her and I also had long hair, but it wasn't that one. In fact, I showed John a picture. I said, Jimmy wouldn't have had to superimpose anything. I already had pictures of this with the hair.
I think we got to see this.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to, without prep, to share that.
Yeah,
I could share it to the audience, but I wouldn't be able to share it so you could see it, Ben. Sorry.
Oh man. Yeah, I used to have a bit of a mullet, I'll say that. And it was, again, I wrestled, and so it was a challenge for how to keep my hair long and short at the same time, because you have to have it cut to a certain length to be eligible to wrestle. And so that was like my big dilemma, was how I was ever going to become a metal band drummer and keep my wrestling, career going. So, first world problems, right? So, and then of course I became homeless and I had bigger problems.
Like you do.
Yeah. So we're going to get into our lists here. And again, if you didn't get a chance to check out the graphic, you can see that on the thumbnails of the YouTube video.
Don't bother. No, don't.
Yeah, it really looks good. And as Ben, you mentioned a little earlier, is that when I saw the picture for the first time, that the hairstyle is similar to what my sister has. My sister has blonde hair and such. And I looked at that
version. I did look just like my sister, and I said, "Jim, you got to change that." I was much happier with the roadkill. I'm like, "Yep, that works."
when you have long hair like that, you're not supposed to be like
pretty.
It's supposed to be like,
yeah, maybe that would have helped.
Balance it off with like a real mean face or something, so you don't look like a chick.
Yeah. Steven Tyler wrote a song about us.
Yeah, he did.
It'd be great. So let's jump into our list here and share a few and kind of bounce around a little bit. Since Ben, you have been working so diligently on your list, we're going to let you start.
Well, yeah, and by diligently, I mean I just at about 5:30 when the crazy kind of settled down at the office. I just sort of closed my eyes for a minute. I sort of brought myself back to being, 10, 11 years old, listening to KG95 and, then into my teens, whatever. And so I thought about the songs that moved me then. And I thought about the songs that still move me now. And I thought that's a pretty good barometer of time, 25 years or whatever longer, I guess. Wow, that it's longer, or like 30.
Yeah.
Plus.
Yeah. It's been a while.
And I remembered this moment where I felt like as a parent, I must have done something right. And it was the moment when I walked in the house and I saw my son wearing this shirt.
Ooh, nice.
And I said, oh, good. I didn't totally fail as a parent. And that was the very first CD I ever bought was not Adrenalize, but Hysteria, but it was Def Leppard. And so I thought about all this. So I guess I'd have to give Def Leppard my first mention just because that was probably one of my favorite bands for sure. And they had so many good songs, and I could listen to Hysteria, just on loop. But obviously their big iconic hit was Pour Some Sugar on Me, I think. I mean, they had so many, you could go on and on. But I kind of picked that one as sort of my honorable mention for number one. So there you go. Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Very nice.
Yeah,
How do you want to do this, John?
We're going to bounce around. We'll bounce around. So
okay.
we'll go. Brian, you can go next, and then we'll just kind of rotate around.
Well, let's talk about Def Leppard for a minute.
We could be here for a while.
I was missing one from my list, so we're going to go this direction.
And as a drummer, I mean, obviously everybody knows the story about,
Rick
after he lost his arm it was a
vet accident,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy can play things with one arm. I can't play with two. So,
Well, before he lost his arm was when I got on board with this band. I remember a friend of mine who I mentioned before we went on the air, first guy I knew who was really into music. He's on my Facebook friends list. We're in groups together. We still talk music. Known him since I was about 8 years old. His name's Mark Bleckman. He's like an IT pro at Harvard University now. But he had this import of this album called Pyromania.
Mm-hmm.
And it hadn't hit yet. And he was playing it for me. And we're talking about late 82, maybe.
Mm.
And, the big song was Rock of Ages, of course. But once I got familiar with the album, the one that I still think is just a great song is Foolin' off Pyromania. I think that is a fantastic track.
Probably my favorite song off of Hysteria was Rocket. And, I don't think that ever charted or anything, but I just...
Yeah, it did.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
And music obviously is definitely more your thing, I think, than mine. But that was... I always liked... I liked the kind of the delayed intro and the rocket sound effects and the countdown. And I always just liked... it just certainly isn't remembered, I think, as one of their big hits, I guess. I looked at a few, of the top 100 lists and stuff to kind of see what the court of public opinion would say. And yeah, I didn't see that on any of them. So,
well, that's an album, Hysteria. That was a crossover album for him because it got mainstream radio airplay. And,
yeah, that's when it started to hit the radio where I discovered them. And then I discovered things like On Through the Night and Pyromania, things that had come out earlier,
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
Because I became a fan,
I think most people are familiar with the entire album, whether it hit or not. It's kind of like the stuff from the 70s in that regard, where you had album radio, and whereas in this case, just so many people had the album. The rockers had it, and the people who like top 40 had it.
Yeah,
yeah,
solid.
Yeah, it was a good word, crossover. And you're right. It was an album driven world back then, whereas it's a singles driven market now. And you don't really have those B sides, and you don't have the ability to put a CD on repeat or a tape on repeat and just sort of fall asleep to it as a kid.
Right.
We were talking about this the other day with a friend from high school, and at that time, you probably couldn't find a car in the parking lot at school that didn't have the tape, the Def Leppard Hysteria tape in the car, because it was just.
By the way, this top 100 list that I grabbed here, their number one song was Photographed by Def Leppard.
Which would
that's a hot track too.
That would have been my pick from Def. I like a lot, but I like Photograph is just one I've always really liked. And
yeah, and again, it didn't get my pick just because it was Pour Some Sugar on Me that turned me on to the band. And so these were kind of, in fact, Sam, Sam from our office,
Yeah.
he's been with NLFX for 23 years. He's a big hair band guy. I mean, he's all about, Sirius 39 or whatever. And you got the wrong guy for the show. You really should have had Sam. And I talked to him. He was working late on a military project or something. And so I talked to them for a few minutes before I left to come home. And it was really interesting to hear his take on some of these things too. He's a lot more maybe methodical, whereas I'm a bit more emotive.
Sure.
He's like, well, this one charted and this was this, and I'm like, yeah, but this is my list.
This is one I like.
Ben, I think you might have been with me about 10 years ago over in England when we were talking to Fozzy. And I was.
I
asked him, I said, dude, what did they say at the beginning of Rock of Ages? And he told us. It was like Monday. I have it written down somewhere. I did a video on it with him eventually. It was like Montag, Lieben, Glatten, Loben, and he broke it down. It's like Monday, honor, something. I don't remember what it was.
You start typing into Google, what is said at?
Since German, it meant something, but not together. The words were just random words.
That's funny.
Connections. We were making connections.
As I look at my little list here, I'm trying to figure out, there's really going to be no order to this.
There's no order to mine.
Probably the next one I'll mention, I'll just put it out there for my boys here. And it's funny because, I think about those years listening to this on the radio, and then years later you end up working for these guys and you end up getting to know them, and you end up, traveling with them for better or worse. And, and that sort of thing, different acts or whatever. Anyway, Warrant, people maybe remember we brought Warrant to Mobile Beat many years ago, and, I thought it was just a little change of pace. And anyway, I've done a few shows with those guys and have enjoyed working with them. And I think Heaven from Warrant probably was Heaven or Uncle Tom's Cabin were probably their best tracks. Heaven, commercially speaking, had to be up there. And I actually told them this story one time where I actually used that track to try to convince my mom that, rock music wasn't that bad. I'm like, see, Mom, they're talking about Heaven. It's it's good stuff. It's good, wholesome stuff, I did it
with my grandma with Van Halen's Ice Cream Man, I think.
Yeah. And I think
how'd that go over?
Jerry, the bass player, I think his response was, well, don't tell her what it means. So, but anyway.
So according to Def Leppard FAQ, the beginning words are basically gibberish because Lang used to be a perfectionist and would do dozens of takes and would repeatedly say the 1, 2, 3, 4 to count them in. So after a period of time, he started using nonsense words, and they made it sound like German gibberish.
Well, they are real German words, though.
Yeah, and it's sometimes
Montag is Monday.
Sometimes they
or Fosse just punked you, which is entirely
no, he didn't because I know Montag now, and I use whenever I go to Germany when I refer to Monday, I'll say Montag, and they look at me, wow, you speak German. Like, no, I just know what they're saying. Rock of Ages. That's all.
Give us a tune, Brian. What do you got next on your list here?
Okay, so my stuff's going to be a little older than I think yours is going to be, Ben.
Older than the 80s, huh?
Well, it's not going to be 80s, but you're going like after
late 80s.
So
all right, I'll go early 80s next. All right.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say when we talk about hair bands, I mean, I think that whole thing kind of came into play around 85, 86 is when they started referring to them.
I'll give you a song from 85 next because that's one
as a genre.
It's next on my list.
But for me, I mean, I was really into rock because I was 13, 14 years old. My brother was into it. I liked it. But then I think it was the summer between my 8th grade year in high school. I just had an epiphany. And the epiphany was I like funky stuff a lot. I'm not really angry anymore. And every chick that I want to hook up with is into Duran Duran and Prince. So maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree with Yngwie Malmsteen here. So although I always listen to other things, I kind of put the rock behind me because, quite frankly, the Poison Look What the Cat Dragged In album cover sexually confused the shit out of me. So it was over. It was done. So before that, I really did dig this stuff a lot. I went to concerts. It was a good time. And the tune that sticks in my head, and it was a crossover track that just caught my attention for this band, I think was probably still one of their best songs, and I don't ever hear anybody talk about it. I never hear anybody play it, and that's Motley Crue's "Looks That Kill."
Oh yeah,
I love that track.
I do have some Motley Crue on my list. I'm going to get to them after a minute. Yeah, that you're right. That is one of those songs that just, and it's kind of like, what was their one, Home Sweet Home, that basically didn't get a lot of radio play. If it wasn't for MTV, that would have never.
Yeah.
I mean, their label wasn't in support of it, and you know. By the way, that reminds me of a good Def Leppard story with Two Steps Behind, where they were talking about Def Leppard singing a ballad, and they said, "Look, Aerosmith's only had one number one hit, and it was a
Dream
ballad.
On.
So we're going to do ballads, you know."
Yeah.
Well, I would
Beth Kiss. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna get to Beth actually.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I get that one special to me. But we'll save that sort of for later. So you want 85, correct? I think this is 85. So I could be wrong. You're asking me to remember 30 years ago, 33. But "Living on a Prayer" by Bon Jovi.
Probably, yeah, about that.
Of course,
85, 86. Yeah.
It was a number one for them. I think it was their second number one. And I loved their use of the talk box in there, you know, sort of the effects, that for me, even though they had Runaway before that and whatever, but I think that kind of put Bon Jovi on the map for me, before they became a bit too popular. You know, I think for me, that was sort of an issue too, because rock and roll is sort of all about rebellion, and, you know, all of a sudden they became everybody's favorite. And then you're kind of like, wow, okay, that's
as soon as little girls like it, it's like, yeah,
Right.
maybe we're done.
Yep. I'm like, okay, you guys are out, you know. So,
I mean, Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran was getting rock and roll radio airplay before little girls discovered them, and then they weren't cool anymore.
So I like that, and I like the fact too that it was really. I mean, he was showing early on he's a storyteller. You know, Tommy and Gina were relatable. You know, they were kind of the every person. You know, so
It's like Jack and Diane.
Yeah, exactly.
New Jersey style.
About, you know, I think I remember the lyrics correctly, but he's talking about, you know, basically pawning a guitar and, you know, the struggles for people to, anyway. So yeah, "Living on a Prayer" has to be on my list somewhere there. And there's your 85. So
let me segue here.
All right, you do that.
The first time I ever saw Bon Jovi was in 1984. And they were an opener for a band. There were 3 acts that went on.
You're going to steal my next band, aren't you?
One was a local act.
Okay.
One was a local act. Then Bon Jovi came on.
Uh-huh.
And nobody knew who they were. They hadn't released Runaway yet. It was their single that was coming, but nobody knew who they were. And it was at Alpine Valley Music Amphitheater here in Wisconsin, East Troy. It's right down the road from where I grew up, like 15 miles away. And the band I was going to see was very different than Bon Jovi.
Right.
So the guys in the lawn seats, and this was like late May, the dirt was rather porous, decided it would be fun to rip up sod and throw it on the stage. So the entire audience got in a sod fight with Bon Jovi. And of course, someone comes on the mic and says, "Come on, Bon Jovi are nature lovers, and the next band's not going to come on unless you stop it." And it was almost a riot. But the band that I went to see and I paid to go see, I was 13 years old, by the way, I would just turned 13, was Scorpions.
You took my next one.
Well, I didn't take it because I know where you're going to go. I'm going to go somewhere different, I think.
Oh, okay, you do that. All right.
Okay. Now, the album they were supporting on that tour was Love at First Sting, which I like. You know, I like it. But
I knew as soon as you said Bon Jovi opened for him, I'm like I set it up that way. Boy, I tell you.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben.
No, that's okay. They're
my karate is strong on this stuff. So anyway, I did like that album, but the one that really caught my attention, my brother had it a couple of years before that, was Blackout. That was a really good album. A guy with forks sticking in his eyes and a big mustache. But there was one track on there, "No One Like You," that I think was probably the best rock and roll power ballad of the 80s. It's a fantastic song, and it had to go on my list.
Well, I like how you did that, because I went with the song that everybody thinks of when they think of Scorpions, and I put it on there. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's obviously one of the greatest, you know, rock tracks of all time, commercially and otherwise. But again, Scorpions made my list not just because they were a great rock band, but because you're a great rock band when Bon Jovi opens for you,
But nobody knew who Bon Jovi was then.
Well, that's my point. These guys
so.
obviously had them as a support act and gave Bon Jovi this incredible experience. And I don't have any facts to back up this statement, but I would have to imagine that Bon Jovi is far more commercially successful than Scorpions.
Oh God, yes.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, Scorpions was definitely next on my list. So I'm not going to count that one since you took them.
No, you can count it because you did a different song.
I was just going to mention it just because they had a couple good songs, obviously, but
they did.
I love
absolutely. But No One Like You by far is my favorite Scorpions track.
Well, let's see. We talked about Bon Jovi, we talked about Motley Crue, so we'll hold on to those, and we'll just sort of use that as a footnote for Scorpions. How about this one? Let's just get right into it. This one's from my friend Peter Mary, who is a closet Stryper fan. That's tongue in cheek, and it's true.
Is there any other kind of Stryper fan?
I don't. You'd have to ask Peter. He literally has in his closet posters and things for Stryper so that he can tell you that he's a closet Stryper fan and open his closet and show
it to you. Yeah, okay.
I've visited him in a few of his homes, and
I should do that with my Cliff Richard stuff.
That's yeah. But I like Stryper for another reason. Not only were they one of the first Christian rock bands to really go out and just, lay the wood to people, not unlike, Skillet and some of the other ones of today, but they had the guts basically to go on tour with AC/DC and to have this tour called the Heaven and Hell Tour. So, you're a Christian rock band and they go on tour with AC/DC on the Heaven and Hell Tour. You just got to give it to them for that. I mean, to go, what? You want to get out there and reach the flock. That's how you do it.
Magazines were funny too. I remember there used to be it was almost like professional wrestling where you had Wasp on one side and Stryper on the other side, and they were having this battle. And wow, man, this could be Hulk Hogan and Captain Lou Albano. I don't know my wrestling, but I'm just throwing out names here.
I'll tell you what, though, if you've never seen a Skillet show, holy smokes, or Hailstorm, which started out as a Christian band, good Lord, Lizzie and RJ Hale can absolutely just bring it, and Skillet will melt your face. They're from your neighborhood, by the way. I think aren't they from Milwaukee?
I've never heard of them.
You've never heard of Skillet? Here's what's great about Skillet. They're charting all over the place on secular rock stations. And I remember working a Skillet show, and they're out there just, peeling the skin off people's faces, just melting the place with some blistering rock. And all of a sudden, he's going on and people are like, wait, did he just say Jesus? like, yeah.
Well, I was enjoying myself, but now this, maybe not. I don't know.
You need to look up some Skillet anyway.
John's laughing.
You need to look up some Skillet. All right. How about one of your tracks?
As a favor to you, I will look up some Skillet.
It's a favor to you, man. I'm listening. I'm not getting preachy. I'm telling you, this band absolutely rocks. They can, like I said, they will just bring the wood to you. So, all right, what do you got? Give me a track.
What do I got? Okay, let's go the opposite direction with that. Ozzy Osbourne off his second solo album. The track is Over the Mountain, which is my favorite Ozzy Osbourne song. A lot of people are big on the Blizzard of Oz stuff, but I'm all about Diary of a Madman. I think that was the album, really. And I've seen him a few times in concert, but not for that tour. I was a little young for that. I think that album came out in 81-ish, 82-ish. But anyway, yeah. Great tune. It was one of those songs that, because I have a brother who's 9 years older than me. He's still a rock and roll guy. I would go in his car, would rate his cassette collection, go upstairs and listen and stuff. And that was the one. That was the one that I ended up stealing. I don't know what happened to it, Dan. It just disappeared.
All right. Well, I'll throw an Ozzy track back at you. It was on my list here, believe it or not. So, Mama, I'm Coming Home. I think that song probably didn't appeal to me as much then as it does now, spending as much time as I do in airports and that sort of thing. And more than once I've texted the YouTube link or something to my wife, as I'm headed to my gate, it's kind of what it's about, right? I think, sort of he and a couple of the guys who got together for that album, Lemmy, whatever, wrote it for Sharon. And it's that sort of that story of the humanness and the vulnerability of a rock star and of all of us. And, you could take all the, the other albums, and then you see kind of this turning point in his career with that song. So,
and I'll just do an honorable mention since we're on the subject, and you're going that era of Ozzy on us. Now, Over the Mountain is my favorite Ozzy Osbourne song, but I believe that his masterpiece is No More Tears.
Yeah,
that is, and it's a later track, and I hate to admit it, but I love it. It's when I think of Ozzy, that I don't think of that song in particular, but that song is his masterpiece, in my humble opinion.
Since we're talking about vulnerabilities, and sort of, where you see the emotive side of these guys, again, they're, great musicians. Some of these guys had incredible vocal range. Mark Slaughter, no exception. Fly to the Angels, I thought was a pretty, that's kind of one of those right from the heart songs. And it also has the kind of those iconic, licks, guitar and vocal of when you think hair bands. I mean, some of the stuff they do in that song just is kind of like a 1, 2, 3 of how to write a hair band song,
Yeah, right. Oh, John DJing for us here.
Yeah, he's cranking them up.
I've been putting some things in the background as you guys are talking when I can find, which most of the songs tonight have been on the hairband discs from Promo Only.
Nice plug.
Yeah. I mean, that in there.
I think there's only been one so far that hasn't been on one of the discs in one way, shape, or form. So,
and right, I got one that I'm going to bring up later that I bet didn't make anybody's list here. So I want to hear Brian's next one.
So I mentioned that I had seen Ozzy a few times in concerts. One of his albums that didn't do much at all was Ultimate Sin. I thought it was okay, but I did go to the concert, and he had an opening act. And at the time, I guess it didn't really, I was like, okay, this is cool. It's like every other rock show I went to. I smoked a doobie in the parking lot, and now I'm enjoying the show. But it was Metallica supporting the Ride the Lightning album. Wow. I mean, I knew who Metallica was, but I never imagined that they would become the iconic band that they are. The track that I always loved.
I think commercially they've trumped Ozzy,
Oh, absolutely. My favorite Metallica cut to this day is, and I love the song, I'll listen to it once in a while yet, is Fade to Black. I love that cut. And if they found out that we were putting them in a classification of hair bands, they probably would be too happy.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you're gonna fear their wrath.
So I'm kind of going more metal on my list.
Yeah,
I'm sticking to that.
And it's the line gets blurry at times for sure.
When I think of hair bands, I think of crossover bands. Yeah, really. Where like Poison and Warrant and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I love that cut.
So since we were talking about the sensitive side, let's talk about just the opposite, the brash, rebellious.
I like it.
Rock and roll, sex, drugs, and thereof. And you gotta love a song with just driving guitar and a motorcycle in the song. So Girls, Girls, Girls has to be on the list. You know what? With apologies to my wife and daughters, man, I would crank that when I was a kid. And that, and actually we'll do a twofer here. We'll do a back-to-back Motley Crue 2-pack. That and Dr. Feelgood. A lot of, I know it's hard for people to imagine me as an athlete. I get that. I know. I look at myself.
I can imagine it.
I look at myself in the mirror every day, and I know it's hard for you to imagine it because it's hard for me to imagine.
No. You before me, absolutely.
I pushed a lot of metal, listening to that metal. I pushed a lot of weights, listening to Dr. Feelgood and Girls, 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 in desperate search of a wrestling scholarship. So.
All right, where do I want to go here? I got a lot of good stuff on my list here. I'm looking up here, and I was saying, yeah, I did a better job than I thought. One of my favorite bands is Van Halen.
Oh, yes.
I really like Van Halen, and I am a David Lee Roth Van Halen guy. Sammy Hagar, I give him his due respect. I've seen Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth do a double bill.
So Van Halen or Van Hagar?
Well, it was Sam Hagar and David Lee Roth do a double bill on a tour. I saw this tour. Nice. And the way they did it was they'd flip a coin to see who went on first, because they'd alternate that, because one opens and they're the headliner. They wanted to kind of keep it fair.
Yeah.
I went for David Lee Roth. I was really impressed with the Sammy Hagar catalog, though. It was amazing. I really thought about how many tracks that guy really did. But anyway, David Lee Roth, Van Halen was with the Michael Anthony. That's with the boys. It was just magic. And I guess if I had to pick one track, it's so hard. It's a toss-up, actually. The runner-up to this was Drop Dead Legs off in 1984. There's something about that song that just turns me on. But if I had to just pick one, I think I'd have to go with Unchained off of Fair Warning. That's my jam.
I went with something that's I'm going to contradict myself, because I just said how when a song becomes too popular, it just sort of loses its luster for me. But I would say, of course, I've always liked Dance the Night Away too, but I would say Jump still has to be my favorite Van Halen song, just honestly because of the intro. Just you play that and
Eddie playing keyboards. It's like, why? What?
Absolutely. So yeah, I'd have to. There's my Van Halen for you is Jump. Cliche call. You know what? Don't judge me.
No, it doesn't matter. I just admitted that I like Cliff Richard, so it's all good.
Touche. Yeah. Well,
okay. I ain't losing sleep, and I ain't counting sheep.
I got an embarrassing one. Maybe I don't think it's that embarrassing, but I'll bring it up later. It's my weepy eyed song for the day, but we got to get another track from you here.
Okay, let's go with Dio, Roddy James Dio. Off of Holy Diver. I love the track Rainbow in the Dark. That is a sexy, hot ass song. Best tune on the album. Dig it. John's playing it.
I'm giving John time here.
And these are all pitched up like by 10 to 15%. So
but we're talking over it, so nobody's going to be over it.
So.
Okay, so how about this one? Since we talked about debauchery and rebellion and, all that, the youth gone wild, so to speak. You see what I did there? Anyway. But how about this one, though? White Lion, When the Children Cry. Talk about a social statement. And of course, the song gets covered a few times, with the Iraq War and whatever. I mean, but basically talk about a band really tuned into what's going on in the world and saying, yeah, we made a mess for you. So good luck with that, Anyway, it's like I said, it's my weepy-eyed song for the night. So,
well, you had a couple.
Well, I got a few more too. I think
you're a power ballad guy.
You're going to see. Well, and because I'm old now, you're going to see the
I'm older than you. Stop it.
The sensitive side of Ben here, but like I said, man, there was a lot of rock that was played really loud in the weight room. Got me through a lot of pushing of irons.
Troubled teenage years.
I mean, let's be honest. Look at me. I had to lift a lot of weights. I spent more time in the gym and the wrestling room than anybody else, I think, because I had to. Let's just be honest. I was just trying to give myself a fighting chance out there. I know it's hard to imagine me with muscles, but it happened.
Somebody's mentioning Accept Balls to the Walls. The Accept song that I always like was Metal Heart. That was me. Obscure, I know, but I really like that song. It was like a description for a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk film. It was interesting. Anyway, so is it my turn?
Yep, it's your turn.
Okay, well, yeah.
I believe would be more like 80s pop.
Take on Me, exactly.
I can play that 80s, one.
Speaking of 1984-ish, whenever that came out, another band came out and started making some noise, Quiet Riot. And they had an album called Mental Health. And the title track of that album was freaking awesome. Mental Health.
Mm-hmm.
Love that track.
Yeah, nobody defined the category better than Quiet Riot, really. I mean, I think you've got one of the bands that sort of is hair bands,
Very much so.
Well, yeah. That was a crossover track.
And if here's another one for you, and here's another social message for you, but I always liked this song. Cinderella, Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone. Always like that song. You kind of, I don't know, you can sort of identify with it, sing along with it, whatever, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm getting all these nostalgic ones.
You
here.
are. I mean, this was definitely a
tears
power
building up in
ballad
your
here.
eyes over these tracks.
That's allergies. It's going to be spring.
No, you.
It's snowing here tonight. Just
Well, let me do a twofer then, just to get myself back out of. I'll throw in "Welcome to the Jungle." You know, because again, you got that just bone rattling intro. You know, it's I don't know. It's and the song rocks pretty hard. So.
speaking
crank that up. You know.
speaking of social messages and social commentary, this song made me think. And it made me do some research because I wasn't sure what all the references were that they were making in the song. And that is Living Colour's Cult of Personality.
Oh, absolutely. Great song. Yeah.
In fact, I met one of those boys a couple of years ago at NAMM. It's pretty cool. But yeah.
Geez, I haven't heard this in a long time. Huh.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be up all night listening to my new headphones.
I don't know if they're particularly hair band, but they were rock and roll.
Yeah, they were in Hot
sure.
Video Classics is where Promo Only has that one.
I'd put them in the same general category. There's so many ways you can slice the genre.
Mr. Glover has some pretty wicked dreadlocks.
How about another Bon Jovi track?
Braids, I guess.
It was a toss-up for me between Bad Medicine and You Give Love a Bad Name, but I just, again, the way that's, shot through the heart, I had to give that one the vote. So You Give Love a Bad Name. So it's mine. But again, then 10-year-old girls are liking it, and you're like,
Yeah,
that was crossover. That whole Slippery When Wet album was the crossover album.
oh, I mean, that put them on the map.
That was top 40 radio play all day. As for some of my picks, I mean, Cult of Personality got top 40 radio
Yep,
play.
I remember that. Yeah.
You're up.
Okay, let's go Canadian.
Hey.
This dude.
We have like 1,000
ended up
Canadian viewers on my show. I think like half of Canada tunes into our show, John. So
Pretty much. We just insulted half of our audience. That's
no,
great.
man, Canadians are awesome. They're cool dudes, man. They get it. Excuse me. And they do say A as well.
That's true. They really can't be mad at us for it.
Yes,
I mean,
that is true.
You do say that. That's how Canada got its name,
Hey, Brian, it's nice to meet you. Yeah, I DJ weddings, eh?
They were having trouble figuring out a name for the country. They were struggling with this a lot. And so they said, just to heck with it. Let's grab a bag of Scrabble tiles and we'll just start pulling out tiles. And so we'll just write them down and that's going to be our name. And so the guy pulls out the first tile and he's like, C-A-N-A. Sorry, Canada. I love you.
What was Asia? Somebody was asking Asia. Heat of the moment, Asia. That was definitely radio. That was top 40. That wasn't really rock. That wasn't hair band. That was in the same category as a lot of things back then that were band, but they weren't rock. They were more top 40.
Yeah, they're definitely good. We got a lot of good songs that are being shared in the chat room here.
They're throwing some cool stuff up.
Yeah,
Wasp. Nobody's gonna mention Wasp either.
I apologize.
I saw them open for Kiss one time.
So what was your Canadian band? Did I?
I'm sorry, I never said.
Yeah, we got to finish this.
This gentleman is very Canadian because he ended up either writing or producing for Celine Dion. But there was a time when he was doing some rock and roll stuff, and the man's name is Aldo Nova, and the track is Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And John, it's got a really long intro on it. You can fast forward it.
There we go.
Cool track.
That's another one that I had to buy the CD just to have the track, and it took a long time to find that particular track.
Yeah, cool track though.
Oh yeah,
and it's was that whole minute in time when they were doing synth and rock, and nobody complained.
Yeah,
it was just for a minute because it didn't last long. Then everybody bitched about it. But it was cool for a minute to put synth in rock and roll. And
I think you can't. I think you can't have hair bands and not mention Whitesnake, though. You think?
Okay, yeah. I was listening to a different Whitesnake album than you were, but okay, because they've been around for a long time.
That's true. I had Here I Go Again. I that was probably my favorite Whitesnake track. So, and you know, again, maybe a bit of a crossover, but
a bit of a crossover. Come on, Ben.
Okay, it was a crossover.
It was a very much a crossover. What was that cat's name in the video? Terry Catan?
Sounds right.
Rolling all over the hood of the car.
Yeah, you know, and Sam mentioned her specifically.
I wonder why.
Yeah,
It must be his love of automotives.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yes. Did you see what that woman was doing to the car? She was denting the hood.
Hey, watch the paint, lady.
Come
Watch
on.
the paint. What do you got there, Brian? Throw me a track.
Well, I'll do a 2 for here because I got to follow up your Whitesnake with a Whitesnake song to cleanse my palate over that. And no offense, I'm just saying. Come on, Slow and Easy off the Slide It In album was was wonderful. It kind of had the same feel as like Joe Walsh's The Confessor, which is another great song. But Slow and Easy was a cool track.
Thank you for bringing us back to rock purity.
This is
Brian.
definitely a change in sound style.
Okay, how about House of Pain by Faster Pussycat?
Well, I was going to do a 2 for.
Oh, you were. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you already did.
That's okay.
That was
I was going to follow up my Aldo Nova.
Oh, you're going. So you did a Whitesnake twofer, and then you're going to go.
Well, I did a Whitesnake to kind of segue with you.
He wanted to
That
cleanse
was like
the
that
palate.
was the lemon cleanser for the palate.
Yes.
But what I really wanted to do was follow up my Aldo Nova.
Oh, we'll do it.
Well,
sorry,
let's talk about Canadians.
Okay.
Okay, here's another Canadian track, band, whatever. Red Rider, Lunatic Fringe.
Ooh, I don't know if I have that one.
Now,
No.
the guy who sang that thing was Tom Cochrane, who later on did Life as a Highway. That was his big song he did as a solo artist.
Never heard of him.
Shut up, stupid. You probably toured with him.
I can't comment.
And who redid that Rascal Flatts for the Cars movie?
I think so.
Yeah, it was Rascal Flatts. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a Tom Cochrane song. But he was the lead singer for Red Rider with Lunatic Fringe, and I had As Far As I Am and in the Aldo Nova self-titled cassettes very close to my boombox at one time. They were my 2 go-to cassettes.
Right on.
Now I'm done. Now you can talk about Faster Pussycat.
I moved on from Faster Pussycat.
No.
That's like one of those songs we can all get together and go, in my house. All right.
Yeah, it's another one of your slow ballads, and I hope Cheyenne. I hope she appreciates the softer side of Ben Stowe.
No.
So let me do this one.
Who would have thought Ben was such a romantic?
I don't know if this one shows up on any lists anywhere, but I think it has the best sounding snare, just this huge snare, kind of big and dirty and just good drum sounds. I think just kind of raw drum sounds.
Who would describe a song as a big dirty snare?
A drummer or a sound guy, I think.
Sound guy.
But I also like the kind of the synthy, chorusy, melody-y thing with kicks and don't.
Yeah, you're trying to save yourself now. It's too late.
Yeah.
What song is it?
Kicks. Don't close your eyes. Just crank up that snare for a minute and just let everybody hear this. Get a load of those toms in there. Let's lay it on us.
Where's it at? How far in?
Right away.
Cool Hand mentioned Zebra.
It's got to get here.
Yeah, let's get this cranked up, John.
Trying to find out where we're at here.
It's pretty quick.
It's got to be right here.
Big snare.
Oh wow! I've got some. I remember this song from back in.
Listen to those toms again. You'll see what I'm talking about. Just
Yeah.
back it up and listen to the, I got to get that tom face in there.
Yeah, it's tough to do.
Very Jack and Diane.
All right, you better bring us back to rock purity here, Brian.
Yeah,
I'm going to
'cause-
finish this off with a really sappy song and a sappy.
Okay, well,
That's a good thing you haven't played any.
Okay, Cool Hand 68. Mention. Oh yeah, Bears. Bears was a wonderful track by Zebra, and I'll just give him a considerable mention on that. That was a bitchin' song, and I haven't heard it in a long time. But I'll give you my pick here. Milton Berle's nephew had a band called Ratt, and they did two called Round and Round, which was freaking awesome.
One of the best, absolutely. One of the I've got that as the 17th best of all time on this list.
It's a wonderful song, and it was a crossover hit, I believe. But yeah, wow, what a cool song! It was one of those bands that just kind of came out of nowhere. It's like, who? Ratt? What a dumbass name. Then you heard the song, you're like, whoa, it was pretty good.
Especially that starting had a very hot start where basically we're in rocking right away.
Some of these names are kind of dumb, like, Pretty Boy Floyd, I mean, you just, or I don't know, you just kind of go, well, really? Okay. But, or I don't know, Kick Axe. You're almost trying too hard.
What was that track that was were they the ones who did You Got It, The Right to Rock?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was like the cliches. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. I mean, nobody did a song like that, but they should have, because it's a cliche.
Right?
Yes.
So I'll let you finish us off. So I'll say mine, and then you can finish us off. So we end.
I thought I just did.
Oh no, I got one. I got my last one here.
Yeah.
I saved this one for last because this is actually the song I proposed to my wife to.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's going to be even more sappy than everything else you've
very sappy.
Whoa.
Very honest. I think.
Okay.
When you think about the lifestyles that we keep. I think I have a wonderful marriage and have a great family. It's obviously not without its challenges, and that's you got to have all things, right? But being on the road puts a certain amount of strain on every relationship, and I think making the conscious choice to continue to go out on the road, maybe sometimes puts a strain. There's times in people's lives, we're human, where you want people around, and sometimes you find yourself leaving when you feel like you should stay. Or you're gone when a situation occurs and you wish you were there, and you have to constantly make those choices. And usually, maybe we make the wrong one, consistently, I guess. But so the song is Beth by Kiss. That is the song I proposed to my wife to. And it was kind of an acknowledgement of what she was in for, I think. And obviously, she's hung around a long time. We just had a big anniversary here the other day. So, Anyway, so there you go. You mentioned it earlier, but
I mentioned it earlier. Didn't mean to catch your thunder on that one, but that was their one and only number one.
Hey, you want to get number ones, make ballads,
But that's right.
I think that the lyrics, I think, speak to everybody who's making those choices, and
This is probably between this and Journey's Faithfully would be two that people have picked as their discussing the being a performer and being gone all the time. Those are the two.
Well, it's just so weird because I remember when it came on the radio, because I'm that old, and I remember when it came on the radio. And like, it's Kiss. I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not.
That is not Gene Simmons singing. Where's the guitar? Who the hell is this? And of course, that's Peter Criss on vocals, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, very, very, very different cut for him, but cool. But
yeah,
cool.
like I said, just an honest statement of, I'll be there, when I can, basically, but I got to do this thing, and knowing you're going to continue to do that repetitively. But at the same, but
I'm not laughing at you. I'm reading the comment section.
Oh, it's at the same time, that's how you provide for the family, and I think that's an honest conversation. I'm just bearing my soul here on national, broadcast, but, where my son, as he became a bit, older and he was 10 or 11 or something, and he saw me walking out the door with my suitcase and he said, where are you going? And I said, I got to catch a plane, and he said, for what? And I said, for work, and he said, why are you always leaving? And I said, that's the job. And he said, can't you get a different job? And I said, I could, but I like this job, and that's sort of an admission that, look, I love my family, but I love this job. And
yeah,
somewhere there has to be balance,
Mm-hmm.
And I think you do well. I mean, your kids are well adjusted. You spend time with them. You do things with them. My dad was. I got to know my dad when I was about 20, and he always like slept in the house that I lived in, but I never saw the guy.
Right.
Not that he was traveling and stuff, but we didn't do stuff together.
Well,
and I don't blame him. He was running for his family, but you're doing so much more than somebody like my father did, as far as relating to the kids and having things in common. And I don't get the Star Wars thing going. I mean, little things like that are a big deal, It's a big deal.
Here's my public service announcement to parents. Brian, you're right on the money. You can be home and not be present.
Yeah.
And so I think being gone a lot makes us more aware of that, of the absence and the distance. And you do try a little more to be present when you're around.
Same thing with a situation like I had. Of course, it wasn't really much of a problem on my end, but parents who are split up. You don't see dad every day. You don't see mom every day, or whatever the case might be. Right. It's quality time. Make whatever time you have, make a good time. Mm-hmm. That's the moral of the story as far as I'm concerned. Just make it quality time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're just about out of time. Do you have one more track for us, Brian?
No, I don't. I went through my list and I even added a few. I've been kind of following the chat. They're mentioning some good ones in there. I think Scott Carroll mentioned, the hell did he talk about? Oh, Naughty Naughty by John Parr. That was a cool song.
Oh, yeah.
The one that I really like, and I couldn't bring myself to put it on the list because it's not really a hair band song. It's a rock song, and I never, ever hear it. Speaking of Canadians, Kim Mitchell, Go for a Soda. Do you know it?
No.
You'd like it if you heard it.
I'll have to check it out.
I thought John was going to Shazam it or something.
I can't do it.
Your homework assignment for
not
tonight,
on virtual.
Kids. Thanks for watching.
Kim, Kim Mitchell, Go for a Soda.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. You spelled Kim for us?
Well, I just didn't want you to think I said Ken, K-E-N.
I was going to say, leave us on our own devices to figure out Mitchell, but it's
I've had a stroke. Sometimes things don't sound like they're supposed to. I meant to say Kim Mitchell. Yeah, Go for a Soda. And it's a cool song. It's kind of got that Tom Cochrane feel to it. Yeah, I mean, you don't hear it and it's unfortunate, but it's a rocker. It's a good tune, but you just don't hear it. There's a lot of really, really good rock songs out there, and I went a little early in the 80s. Ben went into the later stuff.
Well, I'm a little younger, and
you're a little younger, and I knew that's what it was going to be. So I'm glad that we did what we did.
Sort of have to, I suppose, put Lita Ford in there as honorable mention, because nothing cooler than than that too. But since
the only song I can think of that she did was "Kiss Me Deadly."
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good song.
But was there another song? Because they talked about her a lot, but I never heard her.
She did with Ozzy, Close My Eyes Forever, I think, didn't she?
Yeah, those are basically two.
We used to play that like as mobile DJs for high schools and things way back when, and we'd make up our own words to it. If I cross my eyes forever, would they always stay that way? Things like that. It would make it fun.
Your face will stay that way if you make it. Little did I know they were right. Look at me. I mean,
Considerable mentions for rock and roll, though. Talking about girls, what about Pat Benatar's first album?
Oh, excellent! Yeah.
That was quality.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff, it was so neat because the sounds were new. Mm-hmm. By the time we got into the mid '80s, with all of and no disrespect to these later '80s hair bands, but they all kind of sounded the same. The early stuff was really different. There was it was hard to determine, or it wasn't hard to determine one from the other because they all sounded so unique.
Yeah, it was sort of defining the category. It was kind of emerging, and then of course, I kind of transitioned right at that time into plaid. The grunge generation.
Right.
Your favorite music. I know.
Yeah, I know. I was expecting you to throw some of those.
They were
in
the best thing to ever happen to my dance floor.
I was
up-tempo, fun, talent. Yeah, I love this stuff. Somebody else, what are they mentioning here? Patti Smythe. Well, yeah, she was more punk though. Oh, no, fairness. Patti Smythe, that goes back. That's CBGB stuff. Billy Thorpe, Children of the Sun. Weird tune, man. I don't know if you know that one or not. That tune, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it's a really odd song, and it never quite takes off. But it's like the coolest intro ever that never had the rest of the song written for it. It's cool though. It's cool. It's just a weird one. I'm just, yeah. Reggie sent you a link to Go for a Soda, so you can check that out. Because Reggie's very excited that
he has it.
That you mentioned that
Go
song.
for a Soda.
That's all the ones on my list. So I have a feeling I'm gonna be downloading a new playlist on iTunes though, and kind of going back into the day here.
Wonderful.
There was some neat stuff.
And it just still is pretty interesting how much of between the hair bands 1, 2, and 3, how many of those were hit with what you guys were talking about tonight.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
So you're saying the guys at Promo only did their job?
They did their job, yes.
Before we sign off, what was on your list that you never mentioned?
My list. Let me get you there, because a lot of the things I had picked, I knew that you wouldn't go to the light side. There was Winger. 17's my Winger song.
Okay.
I have a great Winger Warrant story for you, but I can't tell it on the air.
Well, then you're just teasing us.
Yeah, then you do. Let's see. Let me kind of go through here. Damn Yankees.
Oh, High Enough?
High Enough would be the one I would pick, but really, either one, they both were pretty solid.
Tommy Shaw, Ted Nugent. Who else was in that band?
Goodness gracious! Now you're asking questions. I was making a list. Autographs, Turn Up the Radio was another one.
Nice.
That I really liked. Somebody mentioned Parr, John Parr's Naughty Naughty. Yep, that was one of them that I had on my list. Def Leppard's Photograph was one. The Firehouse, Don't Treat Me Bad.
Oh man, you know what? I used to play that song. I used to listen to that I would put it on, repeat on my tape deck, and that was one of those bands I just kind of outgrew, where it just I sort of like, okay, I'm kind of done with Firehouse now.
Yeah, especially when everyone was like, for the longest time, that was like, oh, that's our song, man. Can you play that? And it's like, well,
Love of a Lifetime. Yeah.
Someone's so much
Don't
better.
Treat Me Bad was good. I used to jam that and Roxette back to back. I don't know why. This is a weird thing on my little mixtape, right? So
No.
Yeah, and then the last was Tesla with Signs.
Oh yeah, you just have to love a band named after Tesla. I have Nikola Tesla on my wall right over this camera. You can't see. But,
that was meaningless back in the 80s, or fairly meaningless for a lot of people.
That was who the hell did that originally?
Shoot, who did the
long-haired freaky people need not apply?
Yeah, I don't know why I want to say Sweet, but it wasn't Sweet. I don't remember. I know that was it Sean Cassie did a version of that one that my sister used to play a lot.
5-man acoustical or electric band. Another Canadian.
Them Canadians, man, I tell you, they're pretty cool.
1970,
I like Canadians. That was a good list, John.
So yeah, that's what I had a few.
People are mentioning Heart in here. Heart's an interesting one for me because when I started reaching out to a lot of folks over in Europe about music and exchanging ideas and things and songs, the only reference that they had to Heart was like the 80s Heart and Bad Animals and all that. They didn't even know that there was a whole like career in the 70s for Heart.
Oh yeah.
And that is the stuff. And I'm like, guys, listen, as much as you may like Alone, try Magic Man or Barracuda or Straight On.
You've got to go back
and just give me your opinion. Like, wow, what is this? I'm like, that's Heart. What you were listening to is something they just did later because they had nothing else to do. And was a hottie. I'm like, no way. I'm like, yeah, look at the pictures. I'm like, whoa, she was hot. I'm like, I told you. But not hair. Not in my universe. Heart is not a hair band. Yeah. Not even kind of in my universe. Although they did the power ballad.
They did. And I'm surprised it didn't make Ben's list of power ballads.
Yeah, my power ballad compilation for the night.
Yeah. Well, the romantic
Could've
side
done
of Ben
Dawkins
stuff.
Alone Again, you know. Could have done a lot of them.
Yeah. A lot of great tunes being suggested.
It's
in there,
Not
Chad.
Love. Who the hell did It's Not Love? Somebody else is mentioning Iron Maiden, a band I never got. And I tried really hard.
Are they a hair band? I mean, I suppose
Iron Maiden? Yeah.
Well, but that's almost, I mean, it is, you know.
Well, they're a hair. If Judas Priest is a hair band, although Rob Halford's bald, it doesn't matter.
Kind of like Megadeth too. You're like, where do you classify them?
Well, Megadeth is all hair.
Well, I know they're all hair. I mean, obviously they have all big hair, but I'm just, you know, I like you said, is it metal? Is it?
Yeah, you're right.
You know, that's because if we want to include those, oh well, if we want to throw Megadeth in there and we want to throw Iron Maiden in there, I mean, we get a whole new list we could start here. So
yeah, the band I tried.
And we're over time. John's got another show coming on the air.
No, John's this is it for tonight.
I was the other show.
You had somebody else tonight.
I was the other show.
Yeah,
was Thomas Heath before us then?
No, he's in the morning. Typically,
he's in the morning.
Yeah, but it's that last week of the month where we do a multiple.
So we've got 12 hours.
No, Asia was not a hair
then we
band.
can talk about Iron Maiden, Megadeth. All right.
I'm just having fun, Ben. If you need to go, just go.
I think I probably do need to wrap it up. I have a lot going on these next couple of weeks.
Yep, you are a busy man.
Go think about the drum tracks for Run to the Hills.
Yeah, it's going to be
Anthrax.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what? Anthrax. See, my brother always was a big Public Enemy fan, and I was always a rock fan. And so finally, Anthrax brought us together. You know, so yeah,
Anthrax did this really weird project that a lot of people don't know about, and it was called Age of Chance. And they didn't sound anything like Anthrax. They sounded different, rock, but still more like Ministry or Revco or something. And they did a song. They did a cover of Prince's Kiss, which is just genius. It's really good. But it was actually Anthrax, if I remember correctly, who did that.
You know, funny Anthrax story, because I have roots on the farm, of course, and we had beef cattle, and my Anthrax tape mysteriously disappeared one day after I left it laying out, and I'm quite certain that my grandmother found it. And of course, you don't say Anthrax around cattle, so
Put it in the burn barrel.
yeah, nobody ever knew what happened to it, and never heard any more about it. I asked. Nobody knew. So
Maybe she thought it was an instructional tape to how to deal with anthrax or something.
I don't think so.
Put it in, it scared the hell out of her, and
I'm
she
pretty
just
sure she
burned it in the toast. Put it in the toaster and said, "Demon, be gone." And
I think it was Attack of the Killer Bees or something is the one. I'm pretty sure you're probably more on the money with the burn barrel. So
I still like the thought of Grandma putting it in a toaster, just letting the tape die a slow death as she watches and smells it.
Melts it down. Yeah.
possible.
I don't know.
Yeah, probably unlike.
I'm just tired. I'm sorry. I apologize. But anyway, yeah. Thanks, John. Thanks for hosting us tonight.
Yeah,
Nice
worked
to,
worked
trip
well.
down memory lane. It was good.
Yeah, thank you guys for your time and putting your list together. And thank you guys for watching. We will be back tomorrow with our Wednesday night show. And then next Tuesday, if things work out, we're going to try to go live from First Avenue. So we're going to see how things work. And maybe we can
You
even...
going to be there, John?
Yeah, I'm gonna head down there and see if I can be there. It's about a 2-hour drive from this.
So you can get me in, is what you're saying.
Peer pressure. Everybody's doing it.
Ben can get us in everywhere in Minneapolis.
You can get us in, Ben. No problem.
He's the man.
I'm the one paying the tab, so yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I got to hook up then.
So we're gonna see.
I got to digest this. That is too tempting.
We got to see what we can do with that. Next week will be a different show, and we will be coming to you live from First Avenue. Just a question of where we're all at and how things all come together. So, once again, thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you later. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insiders.